Hi guys, Mark here for KetoKitchenCollection.com, and today's question is from Kelly. She asks, if you're doing keto, what do I eat in a typical day? Well, I tend to keep it fairly simple. I don't stray an awful lot from day to day on what I do eat. I don't mix it up a whole lot, and you don't have to. You can if you want to, but we are creatures of habit after all. We know what we like and what we're used to, and we tend to stick to that from day to day if you have to think about your previous eating. So for me, with regards to breakfast, I'll typically default, when I'm on a keto diet, I'll typically always default to bacon and eggs or sausages and eggs. So I'll have scrambled eggs, maybe 2, 3, 4 eggs, whatever I feel like, break them into a pan, scramble them up. Occasionally, I'll put just the smallest little dash of milk with it, but after a short while, I did without the milk. I know that's not a keto food, and I'm talking the amount of milk wouldn't even fit in that little 15 ml container. So I'm really talking about just a little dash of milk, but now I exclude the milk entirely. You can put butter with it if you want. I didn't tend to. I just made the scrambled eggs on their own. I would have bacon initially. When I started my keto diet, I lost a lot of weight very quickly eating a lot of bacon. Sometimes I would have it twice in a day, bacon and eggs. And I wouldn't always have it traditionally as a breakfast meal. I did find, though, that I just got sick of bacon. And I know it's sacrilege to say it, but yeah, I got sick of bacon, so I swapped out the bacon for sausages. Now, with the sausages, excuse me, with the sausages, you've got to be careful which ones you get. Have a look at the labels. Some of them do have quite a lot of carbohydrates in them, interestingly enough. Not entirely sure why. You will find, perhaps, that if they're flavoured sausages, that you'll get more carbohydrate content in them. Just have a look at the label. The sausages I have, they were about 80 grams each in total, and there was maybe 2 grams of carbs per sausage, and I'd have, a couple of sausages with my scrambled eggs, and that'd make a great breakfast for me. Or again, sometimes it'd make a great lunch or a great dinner, so I wasn't locked into those traditional timings with specific foods for different meals. Moving on to lunch, so tinned tuna and macadamia or coconut oil. So this is why I've got the little measuring cup. I take the coconut oil or macadamia nut oil and pour it into a 15 ml measuring cup and simply drink it. Take it back like a shot. The coconut oil has just the mildest flavour of coconuts. The macadamia nut oil has a bit of a stronger flavour. Of course, it's macadamias. It's quite palatable. It's not the most delicious thing in the world, but it's certainly not horrible. You've just got to get used to having the oil. But one tip, make sure you throw it back quickly. Don't sip on it if you're going to have the oil. What I would always have that oil with is a tin of tuna. Now, you could put the oil on the tuna. There's nothing wrong with that. If you like doing that, that's perfectly fine. It's just easier for me to drink it down quickly, and I prefer to have less oil on my fish if I can help it. You could also have salmon. The reason that I have these two typically together is that you don't need to refrigerate them, and you can just travel around with them really, really easily. So with the tuna, you just pop the top off, take a fork or a spoon with you, and you're good to go. This one is flavoured. It's zesty vinaigrette. You can go the flavoured tunas. I tend to not go with the unflavoured tuna because it's a bit hard for me to choke down. I don't really like it, and if I don't like it, I'm not going to eat it. With regards to the flavoured tunas, make sure you check out the label on the back to ensure that there's going to be very low carbohydrates in it. So this one, for example, the carbohydrate content, the total weight of the contents of the can is 95 grams. This has less than 1 gram of carbohydrates. That's all it says, less than 1 gram. I will go up to 3 grams of carbohydrates per tin of tuna. I would only have one of those tins if there were 3 grams of carbohydrates in it. For this particular one, I'd have maybe 2 or 3 in a day. Also, always with some coconut oil or macadamia nut oil. So moving on, the next lunch meal that I would typically always have, leafy green salad with grated cheese and diced bacon. Whatever leafy greens you like, I typically go for, I had cabbage, lettuce, and baby spinach. The darker green you've got, the more leafy the vegetables, the better they're going to be for you in terms of nutrition and micronutrients, vitamins and minerals, that sort of thing. And I just cut it all up, put it into containers that are sealable. I grate some cheese over the top, and I cook some diced bacon. You can just buy it pre-packaged from the supermarket or grocery store. Cook it all up, distribute it between all the different containers, put the lids on them, stick them in the fridge, you're good to go. I have talked about ingredient overlap before. So sometimes what I do, and what I mean by that I'll explain, sometimes what I do is the bacon that I'd have with my bacon and eggs, I cook extra bacon, cut the bacon up into small little pieces, and then make some of those containers with the leafy green vegetables and the, what's the word I'm after, grated cheese, and just put that bacon over the top. It just means I can get a whole lot of cooking and preparation done more quickly at one time, and it just makes the rest of the day and the rest of the following days that much easier with regards to meal choices and meal availability. So, and you could also do the same with sausages. It doesn't have to be diced bacon on your salad with your cheese. You could make a sausage as well. There's nothing, nothing precluding you from doing that, and now that I think about it, I probably should have done that. And it's something that I'll be looking to do in the future, of course. So moving on. Lunch, now we're on to dinner. This is actually probably something I had for lunch and dinner. Deli meat wraps. So I'd get a piece of ham. It doesn't have to be ham, but ham worked very well for me. It was about probably an inch bigger than the size of my hand. A big old slice of ham, cut fairly thick. Now I'd put that on the plate. I'd put my ingredients in, my keto approved ingredients. So typically I'd have lettuce, some grated cheese, maybe a little bit of onion, perhaps a few slivers of capsicum, or for you North Americans, you'll call it bell pepper, excuse me. And once you've got all the ingredients at one edge, let's say this is our piece of ham, I know it's too small, but once you have all the ingredients at one edge, you simply roll it up, kind of like you're rolling up I was going to say a cigarette. I've never smoked, but I guess that's how you do it. And it turns into a deli meat wrap. You can put pieces of salami or other kind of meat in that as well. Whatever you want to do, if it's keto approved food, you can wrap it up into one of these wraps, and that's why it's important to have fairly thick ham or thick meat, because it'll wrap easy without tearing. You can package these really easily. You can put them in a container and leave them in the fridge. They do have to be refrigerated, but you can also travel with them well as long as you've got a cooler bag or an ice brick or something like that to keep them cool. You don't want the meat and the cheese and so forth getting into the, lingering in the temperature danger zone, because you can get yourself food poisoning. So just something to be very aware of with keeping your meat cool and cold when you're traveling. Moving on to another dinner meal that I would often have is chicken skewers. So sometimes you might call them chicken kebabs, depending on where you're from. I'd oven bake some chicken, put some seasoning on it, maybe some kind of salt, or I'd also use onion powder or chili powder. Before I'm getting a step ahead of myself, I'd get the skewers, I'd put a piece of chicken breast on or chicken thigh meat on. I'd then put just a little square or triangle of capsicum or bell pepper on after the piece of chicken, and then I'd just do the same thing over and over until the skewer was filled up. I'd put it in the oven, cook it for 20 odd minutes, and there you go. It's done. It refrigerates. Well, obviously it refrigerates easy, but it keeps well in the fridge for a number of days. Put it in a sealed container, and that's fine. Another thing that I would do is also, before I put them in the oven, I'd grate some cheese over it, just regular cheddar cheese, and let it melt all through as it's cooking. It made it really, really, really good, and it's a perfect keto meal. It's very protein heavy. You don't want to overdo the protein too much when you're on a keto diet. You can run into some problems, which I've explained in other videos, and I can do a specific video on that if you'd like me to. But as long as you don't go too nuts on the protein with the chicken skewers, then you're fine, and it offsets that potential problem the more cheese you put on it. So if you like cheese, then just go nuts. Just have it all over your chicken skewers, and you can't go wrong. It's perfectly good, fine keto food. On to snacks. And look, that's not an awful lot of different meals. I don't vary my keto diets all that much. And with regards to those meals, look, when I first did my first keto diet some years ago, I lost 12 kilos or 26 pounds in 5 weeks eating the things that I'm telling you. In fact, it was probably even more simple than what it is I've told you. Okay, so it absolutely, absolutely works. You don't need any special supplements. You don't need to get any more complicated in the kitchen. This absolutely, I guarantee you it works. Okay, let's move on. Snacks. Almonds, which I forgot to bring down with me. That's fine, I'll show you in another video. Almonds, I get them in little boxed 30-gram amounts. You get 6 in a packet. I get them from the local grocery store or supermarket, and they're already pre-portioned. 30 grams. I'd have 1 portion in a day. They can get a little bit high with the carbs, so I don't go too hard on the nuts. And almonds are good. They're great for keto, full of good fat, got some protein in them as well, and it's easy to carry them around. You don't have to refrigerate them, of course. I'd also have cheese. I've spoken a lot about cheese. I'm not lactose intolerant. For those of you who are, it's going to be a little bit more challenging, but almost everything that I've mentioned here you can have without cheese in it, so you don't have to concern yourselves too much with that. But if I'm going to have cheese as a snack, I'll simply get a block of cheddar cheese, cut off a slice of 30 to 50 grams, and just eat it straight up. It's also with the cheese, you can put it in, you can wrap it up in tin foil or what would you call it, clear wrap. Some of you call it saran wrap or glad wrap, depending on what country you're from, and just put it in a cooler bag or put it with an ice brick, and it'll keep it cold and nice and palatable for however long you're traveling for or wherever you're going. And the final snack that I would have is pork rinds or pork crackles. These are bought just from, again, supermarket, grocery store. One thing I will say about these is that some pork rinds, they are very high in protein, so I would typically not have too many, maybe a max of 25 grams in a day, so I didn't blow out the levels of protein I was having relative to fats. Some of these, depending on the brand, you will get a fair amount of carbohydrates in them, so it's probably because of the flavoring that's put on them. If you can get unflavored ones, it's most likely better, but some of the flavoring's really good. And you can get quite low levels of carbohydrates. As with everything, always check the label to see what the carbohydrate content is. One last thing, with regards to how much you should eat of all these different things, on a keto diet, you want to have 75% of your calories from fat and 25% of your calories from protein. So I would just adjust all these different foods based on their protein and fat content, so that by the end of the day, I was approximately around those levels of 75% of calories from fat, 25% of my calories from protein. I would tend to track all my food, my calories, my fat, my protein, my carbs. You don't have to do that. You're going to be in ketosis even if you don't track all those things and you do eat these foods. But by tracking it, at least for a couple of weeks, it just helped me to understand how much I should be eating of each thing, so that from that point on, I could then eyeball it and I didn't have to go through the process of tracking things each and every day, which is not laborious once you get used to it, but there is a bit of a learning curve there. If you guys want to know more about that, I can certainly help you learn very, very quickly and easily how to track your calories and your protein, fats, and carbs. That's no problem. But overall, that's what I ate. That's what was very, very successful for me and continues to be successful for me anytime I go on a keto diet. So try some of those things. If you do have any questions or queries, please do let me know. One other thing I've just remembered, I've got myself some peanut butter here. Okay, almost forgot this one. Some peanut butter. This is natural peanut butter. The only ingredient in this is peanuts. If there's anything else in the jar of peanut butter you get other than peanuts, don't get it. It's not keto approved. This one is just completely 100% peanuts. I would cut up some celery into little sticks. I'd get maybe 20 or 30 grams of peanut butter on a small plate or a little bowl, and I'd just dip the celery in and eat it. It's quick, it's easy, it's delicious, and you really can't go too far wrong. You've just got to be careful that you don't take in too many carbohydrates through the peanut butter. That's why I only limited it to maybe 20 to 30 grams per day. So that's it, guys. Thanks for watching all the way through. If you do have any of your own things that you really like, that you have consistently on a keto diet that's worked well for you, that you'd like to share with everyone, please do start the conversation in the comments below. Thank you again for watching all the way through. I appreciate you guys, and I appreciate the time you've given me. My name's Mark for KetoKitchenCollection.com, and I'll see you guys on the next one.